Hello, entrepreneurs. Joe DiChara coming to you live from downtown Flushing, New York, with the final day 5 of the Bedrock Business Building Challenge. And I've really been looking forward to this. We got some amazing guests coming on that are going to talk about post-COVID business. And I'm not talking about anybody. I'm talking about some real entrepreneurs that have been in this for a long time, and I want to hear what they have to say, because I just do. But the fun part of this for me, and that's why I've actually started, a couple of minutes early, is that we are going to be talking about stealth tax strategies. And this is one of my favorite subjects. I've been doing it for a long time. It gives me pleasure when I can help people fly under the radar and legally reduce their taxes and cover their assets. So I'm going to get right into this, because one thing I realized is that I have way too much stuff to go through. And just to let you know, I will be going quickly on this. The recording will be up on our YouTube channel, and we need thousands and thousands of hours of viewing on the YouTube channel. So after you watch this live, and about 10 minutes after the live, it'll be up on the YouTube channel. So you should go back and watch it again, because I'm going to be going so fast, you're not going to be able to absorb it all. And some of the stuff that I'm going to share with you could actually save you millions and millions of dollars and help you sleep better at night. So let's get on with this. The first thing that we need to talk about that nobody ever talks about is, what are you paying in taxes? In other words, how much is a deduction worth? So in other words, it's right here, folks. It starts out at 10%. So if you and this is taxable income. This is after your standard deductions, or if you're taking itemized deductions, after any business losses. Okay, but it all comes down to one number, what they call your taxable income. And it's graduated. So you could see that, it's, if you don't make that much money, you pay a lower percentage. If you make a lot of money, or relatively a lot of money, because some people that make this amount of money, they don't get to keep it all. It seems like a lot, because every dollar they make, 37 cents. For every dollar over $518,401, I don't know where they come up with these freaking numbers, but every dollar over that, you are paying 37%. That's just the federal. So if you're in a low tax state like California or New York, you can add another 8%, let's say. So if you're in that bracket, you're up to 45%. People take into account what you're paying in Social Security, sales taxes, real estate taxes. I mean, you got to be freaking kidding me. How does anybody get rich when you're giving almost 50% of every dollar you make back to the government? It's not easy. And that goes back to, my summary of the whole S Corp law that was passed in 1958. But that's a whole nother subject. I can go on a tangent. But so I just want people to know, this is what this is going to be worth to me as a deduction. So, I would say generally most of my clients fall in this range, 22 to 24%. We add the state. So I roughly guesstimate that for every $10,000 in deductions, we save about $3,000 in taxes. And if you're talking about, somebody that made 100,000. 3,000 is quite a lot of money, quite a bit of money to somebody that makes 100,000. It might not be as much to somebody making 500,000, but somebody making 500,000, a $10,000 write-off is going to be worth over 40% if you live in any state that has an income tax. So we're not talking about chicken fee here. It could be a substantial amount of money. So what are some of the stealth tax strategies? Well, believe it or not, folks, you can write off your kids as a business deduction. That's right, folks. Your children who you cannot take, you get virtually no tax benefit for having a child anymore. Unless you get some kind of child credit, but that's besides the point. I'm talking about paying them a salary to do a job, and you get the write-off, and they get the income. We call this, it's called income shifting. Because if you're one of those fortunate people to be in the 50, this bracket, or even this bracket, or any bracket, you want to hire your kids. Hire them to do research on social media. Hire them to write blog posts. I mean, some of these kids are, there's some kids that became millionaires writing blog posts. I've heard that. I've never met one, but I do know my friend Craig Duswalt's son had a really a large following. That's another story anyway. But you see, if Craig was smart, he would have hired his kids to do this stuff, and he would have got a nice tax write-off. But I don't do Craig's taxes, so. Now, how much is writing off your kid as a business deduction worth? Well, when they changed the tax law, a standard deduction for a single individual is over $12,000. So each kid could represent up to a $12,000 business write-off for you, okay? But what happens to that? How is that done? How is it done on paper? Well, what you have to do is you got to hire your kid, give him him or her a W-2. So you got to register for payroll taxes. Okay, there's no way around that. And the way that you calculate what you're going to save is basically whatever your tax rate is over here times 12,400. So for instance, let's say you're in the 30% bracket. This is going to be a $3,600 in your pocket tax savings, but you have to subtract the payroll taxes, which are going to cost you for a $12,000 payroll is going to cost you about, let's say, $1,800, which seems like a lot, right? But that's only part of the story, folks. You, out of the 3,600, you pay 18, you keep 18, okay? You keep 1,800, but that's not all, folks, because now your child has earned income, which you can take up to $6,000 and put it into a Roth IRA. And if you do that every year, your child will be a millionaire, guaranteed, before you. So that's my first stealth tax strategy. And okay, I just want to make sure my first guest doesn't show up. He should be here shortly. So that's stealth tax strategy number one. Stealth tax strategy number two. Oh man, I need some water. I get so excited about this stuff. And I am zoned in now. So if you do have any questions, you can put them in the chat, and I probably won't even get to look at them right now because I have so many great guests, and one of them is sitting right there below me. And this guy, okay, let me tell you about, let me get rid of this. Mr. Limbocker.
Hello. How are you doing?
So if you don't know John Limbocker, I'm going to tell you something that he doesn't know that I know. Hey, John. John is one of these guys. He's really lazy. Would you agree, John?
That'd be a good way to put it. Absolutely.
So he met this guy named Tim Berners-Lee, and he told him how to create the internet because John didn't want to. But John, he told him how to do it because John knew how to monetize it. Would that be correct, John?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I'd go quite that far, but
okay.
I'm pretty lazy and figured out how to make money pretty easily on the internet.
Yeah, I've seen you in action. I follow your program. I've actually made your program mandatory for a couple of our people.
Oh, cool.
So, because it works. Mm-hmm. And I listen to you. I know you know too much. I don't know if you're human. But I said, you know what? Let me get a couple of people on here that can predict the future. Because you've been pretty on for a long time with that.
Yep.
So, Mr. Limbocker, what is the internet business going to be like 6 months from now, 6 years from now?
It is going to be spectacular. Nothing short of that. It's ever since I've been involved with it, it has been ramping up, and today it's just accelerating. That's all there is to it. It's like what has happened in our country over the last year has just forced it. Everybody knew they were going to be needing to be online. Everybody knew they were going to need to figure this stuff out, and now it's just really forced their hand. There's a lot of people like we know, like Craig. How much did he push out against it until he had to do it? And now he loves it. Yeah.
What a surprise.
Yeah. I mean,
and I know Craig, and I think he sees the enormous amount of money that he can make doing it this way, right?
Yeah. It's like they say, if you keep your fashions around long enough, they'll come back into style. Well, web development is a perfect example of that. Like, I was in web development in the very beginning in the mid 90s. And that was when business owners were just starting to wake up to the internet. Everybody knew they needed a website, and nobody knew where to get it. It was like a gold rush for guys like me. We were building sites like as fast as we could, just churning them out, building our businesses. And then after a while, it kind of got to the point where that business was trashed. Too many people jumped in. It's almost like the whole photography world. Everybody that's got a camera thinks they're a photographer, right? Well, everybody with a computer thought they were a web developer. And we all know that's not true. A 6-year-old can make a website, but it takes somebody special to make a website that sells something.
I'm laughing because you know that I've tried to make my own website.
Well, it's the mechanics behind making the website is one thing, but it's the process of creating a sales process is a whole nother issue. And web developers don't do that. They know how to make pretty sites, but they don't know what they should say, and they don't know how they should say it. So you really have to have a combination of a couple of different skill sets there to really make a business fly online. So what has happened now, back to the whole back-end style thing, the whole web development industry, everybody got websites made back then. And then now all of a sudden those sites are out of style. And what's back in style is all those people that had them done, they need them redone.
Wow.
And they don't know where to get it. You know, they've got a bunch of people that they don't trust because they didn't do them right in the first place. Their sites never sold anything. And now they're up against, they need all this new technology, and they don't want to go back to the same people that built the stuff that didn't sell in the first place. So it's literally like a gold rush for people like me.
Wow. You know, I have another friend, Haley Gray, that does websites, and she had a great year. I know you said you had your best year ever, right?
Yeah. 2020 was the best year I can remember.
So what about normal people though, John?
Normal people, they really need to get their head wrapped around adaptation. If you stay where you are and your environment changes, you're probably going to suffer, right? If you're standing out in the open and it starts raining, you might want to look for some cover. And that's what you need to do. It's raining out there. The world is raining, and you need to shift. You need to come out of the rain. So whatever that means to you, most people have found a way to take their business and convert it to online. And that's really the moral of the story of what you need to do. You need to look at, you know, when all that water comes down, it floods the streets. It's looking for the low spot. And if you can find the low spot, there'll be plenty of water for you to scoop. So you know, I know I'm saying all this metaphorically, but
yeah, that's why we record this, and people have to go back, and I'll have to watch it again because I have no idea what you just said.
It's like the way I described what happened to me in the 90s was, it was like, you know how in the movies you see the little guy that puts his ear down to the train track and he knows when the train's coming, and it's 5 miles away, but he knows it's coming because he can hear it on the tracks. So that train, like I could hear that internet train coming in the early 90s.
Yeah, I see that, and that's why I asked you on here. So let me so point blank, like Zoom, okay? You told me to buy Zoom last year, and I didn't buy it. And no, I'm kidding. But it's, what were they at, like 20 million? Now they're at like 200 million. I mean, just the amount of people on the internet. And then, like, so you see my background. That came because I was like, I'm on the internet all the time. I need to have like a real background, and it's important now. Like it wasn't that important before. So what's going to be important? So adaptation. You know, I always did that.
You need to know what's coming. You need to start educating yourself into what next year and the years beyond is going to look like. They're going to be virtual worlds. You know, things are going to happen virtually. Like I've got clients that were in the hands-on world, like training people in karate and jiu-jitsu and stuff. You know, that when you heard that, you would think, oh, I go to a studio, I get trained, right? They're doing it online now. It's not new. It's just a new way of thinking because you can't do this stuff in the real world anymore. You know, it'll probably come back to a certain extent, but I'll tell you one thing. If you think that the world is going to go back to the way it was, I think you're going to have a rude awakening. Like these companies, right? A lot of companies, they were very resistant to having people work at home. Well, I can almost assure you that now that they've done it and the world didn't fall apart, I don't think they're going to want them back in their offices.
What's going to happen to all those buildings, those office buildings? Actually, my next guest is going to tell us that.
Yeah, Larry
probably. Well, no, Mike Wolf is sitting down there waiting for us. Yeah, and then we're gonna have Larry on afterwards. So.
Yeah, Mike is definitely the guy to ask that question.
Yeah. So,
but one thing I can tell you, I mean, I know you've got a short time window here. But one of the things, this has nothing to do with the internet specifically, but it kind of does. And it's the dollar itself is moving to these cryptocurrencies. If you have not got your head wrapped around that, that's something you want to start educating yourself on.
Oh no, you got to be kidding me.
You know how I said last year was
it's
my
on
best.
it's on the tax returns. I guess I got to learn this then.
Remember I said
Okay.
last year was my best year ever? Well, we're not even out of February and I've already exceeded it.
Oh my God. And I believe you.
And a lot of it is because of cryptocurrencies, my investments in
Okay.
the right
Well,
cryptocurrency.
we're gonna bring that up on your weekly act apprentice thing. John, thank you so much.
All right.
We will come back to this years from now to see if you were correct. So
All
thank
right.
you.
We'll
All
do
right.
it.
Let's see if I can get Mike Wolf on here. Hey, Mike Wolf.
Hey, good to see you. Good to see you too, John.
You got,
Yeah,
hey,
you
look,
too,
On the
Mike.
reunion. Good to see
I'm
you.
gonna
buddy.
leave. I'm gonna leave John up there if you don't mind. John, can you hang around?
Yeah, sure. I can hang
Okay. So, Mr. Wolf, my real estate guru.
Good to see you,
I
buddy.
don't know if you heard our conversation, but it led up to the whole thing about what's going to happen to all those office buildings now that people work from home.
Yeah, those office buildings are likely going to get repurposed and turned into apartment buildings, but I think there's going to be an overabundance of those. So it's going to be really interesting because a lot of those office buildings tend to be in the downtown core. And now with people not worrying about the commute to work, they don't necessarily want to be in the downtown core. They might want to be more out in the burbs where it's cheaper and they get, more for their money and newer. So I think some will get repurposed and others, who knows? I don't know what's going to happen with the glut.
You don't know.
Well, I think I mean, it's going to get repurposed into something.
Well, when you say repurposed, I could see like an owner saying, "Okay, we're going to change this building into single room occupancy or something," right?
Yeah, what you're going to see is a lot of these people that were in a really enviable position a year ago that own some of this office space. They're probably going to lose it because they don't have the funds in a lot of cases to go and be the people repurposing it. So they're going to stop making their payments. They're going to get foreclosed on. Other investors, like some of my friends, I'm more of a single family residential kind of guy, but a lot of my friends are going to buy these kind of buildings and take them and change them from offices to apartments. And they'll get them for, they'll get this stuff for pennies on the dollar and it'll make sense. But I think there's going to be an overabundance of it. And I don't think that's going to, a lot of people want to be in the downtown core because they're thinking about convenience to get to the office. When you're doing everything over Zoom, you can do that from anywhere. So
this is going to be, I could see, nobody really knows, but it's going to be a major shift. And you talk about, so I wanted to get to the part where like the buildings are going to be taken over by the banks, right? And then somebody else is going to buy it for a lot less than what it was worth last year, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you called that the transfer of wealth.
Yeah, we're going to see probably the greatest transfer of wealth in history. And we're going to see a lot of opportunity for those people that are either in the know when it comes to real estate investing, people have been doing it, or people that are taking this, this downtime. A lot of us have, a lot more downtime than we had before. And we have this extra bandwidth and the people that are using it to reinvent themselves instead of waiting for life to happen to them. The people that are being proactive, I think a lot of these people they're going to be hungry and they're going to be in a really good position if they take the time, use that time wisely. But there's going to be so much opportunity, and we're already seeing it in some sectors of the real estate industry. But it's going to be a lot more, probably as the moratorium on foreclosures ends, and as hopefully COVID starts to disappear and things get, I won't say normal because I think the old version of normal won't exist anymore, but the new normal, Earth 2.0.
So, basically you and John are saying the same thing. The people that educate themselves, because you pretty much know, there's going to be total chaos, and there's going to be huge opportunities. So the people that aren't sitting on their butts waiting for something to happen are the ones that are going to be rich.
Yeah, definitely a lot of opportunity for people that maybe, and I know some people watching this are thinking, oh, well, I don't have any money, so I can't participate. I'm out. Well, I remember when I first started, I was a starving ex-university student trying to pay off my student loans. And so the truth of the matter is you don't really need any money to get in this game if you know what you're doing. And even some of those, some of these deals that seem, for somebody who's never done a real estate deal, it may sound scary. If you have the time and the energy, you have the opportunity. And so a lot of people think that money is a limiting factor, and it's really not.
Yeah, I believe you, and I'm honored to have both of you guys as friends. Thank you for showing up. And I want to treat everybody to something, which is, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, for me, they can email me, Mike at MikeWolfMastery.com. And if you contact me, tell me that you saw me on Joe's program. But that's the easiest way, is just by email, or you can check out my website, MikeWolfMastery.com.
Yes, definitely do that. And Mr. Limbocker, how do they get into your ACT program? Which is, you have this program that's so stupidly cheap that it's genius.
Yeah, I really didn't, me, money is not really the deal. I can always make plenty of money. I just didn't want any barrier to entry to somebody not getting that information because of cost. So that's why I did it so cheap.
And what exactly is the information that you give in ACT?
This is like what has been held secret in the ad agency for over 100 years. It's the formula for how people can make successful ad campaigns and how they've been doing that in ad agencies for that long. I mean, it literally goes back to like Benjamin Franklin. I've got his formulas.
I found his thing on the stove thing. The stove didn't work.
Yeah,
he sold it. He got rich off.
It was the worst product on the market, and he outsold the competition like they weren't even there.
And your program works. I'm proof of it. It's simple, and you're right. It's like a secret, but it's not a secret anymore. So how do people sign up for it? I should have had my affiliate link ready.
Well, you still can. You got an email list. Everybody's on.
That's okay. Just let everybody know.
Send it out. You can get a hold of me at internetdominators.com, and my phone number's on there. My email's on there. There's a free 15-minute consult on there. Whatever you need, I'm here for you.
And if you do sign up, make sure you tell John that I sent you, so that he'll put me on the affiliate thing.
And John, just for the record, John's a really good guy, and he's very, very smart. So you definitely want to chat with him.
Oh yeah, it's no brainer. All right, gentlemen, thank you. I have to. Oh, we have Mr. Broughton here now. I got to see. Thank you. Let me get Larry up here.
All right,
Joe. Good
to see you.
All right.
Those guys are the rock stars.
Mr. Broughton.
Where'd they go? Those guys are the rock stars, Joe.
We're all rock stars now. We're part of Craig's group, right?
I mean that rock star. I mean, just those are great guys. I'm glad that you in your life, and that they're good guys.
That's why you asked me, like, how are you getting all these people? I said, I don't know. They just show up. But they're amazing. I'm like, I'm blessed to have people like them, Craig, just.
Well, I think it's the birds of a feather thing, right? I think it's nice to reach out to people and support each other, particularly now of all times. But I enjoy both Mike and John. So good for you, and I enjoy you too. So what's going on? How's the whole 5 days going for you?
This has been amazing.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I realize I have way too much stuff to talk about.
I saw your post about that.
And I really got to condense it. And it's who was it? Melody Kamer Harper taught me. She said, it's easier to do like a long presentation than a short one.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
But it's helping me sharpen my blade. And I actually have some really good stuff to share with people. So
yeah, you do.
And so do you. And that's why I wanted to bring you on here.
Well, we've both been doing this for a while, hence the the hairstyle, the gray, or no hair. That's the great thing about getting old, right? Or older, is that we become, I think both of us were probably considered young Turks in our younger days. We were the people who shook things up. But with time comes some battle scars and some wisdom, and a little bit of discernment, right? And also a sense of, hey, our lives on this earth are not, we're here for a finite time in this lifetime. And so if we want to make an impact, we need to start speaking out, right? So I appreciate you inviting me back on your program.
Well, I'm glad that you found time in your schedule, but it was because, you wrote this victory book and it really resonated with me. And as I was reading it, I said, this is why everything you said resonated with me. Serve first,
right?
Serve first, like change. I don't know if I told you that I did that, and my revenue went up by 60% one year.
Dude, I hear that over and over again. The world has a way of rewarding us when that happens. I was on a TV show yesterday, and we were talking about this, and I don't know when it's going to air, but it was an interview show. And we were talking about this topic about serving people. And when I talk about serve first, I'm not talking about, Joe, selling your stuff and moving to India and working in the slums in Calcutta. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just a service. A spirit of helping people, holding the door for somebody at Starbucks, for crying out loud, or you see somebody struggling with their groceries and they have a kid in the cart, try to help them with that. Or my classic one that I bring up every time I talk about this because it drives me nuts. You've probably been on an airplane when you see a small 5'2" woman trying to put her bag in the overhead compartment, and you see a big burly young guy sitting there next to her, just watching her struggle with the damn thing. Step up and help. Those types of things, I think it's the whole butterfly effect, right? And then somebody said, boy, that really felt good to have that person help me. Maybe I'll help somebody.
I covered that briefly yesterday, and I think right? it had to, just mindset.
Yeah, for sure.
And awareness. And that's what you did for me, those two words. Oh my God.
Yeah. So, well, listen, that's not me. I didn't come up with that. There's been a lot of people who say it, who have said it.
You also said you're going to fail.
I did.
And I hated that.
No, but here's the thing. Reality is your friend. Reality is your friend. Here's the thing. Yes, you're going to fail. And if you don't fail, it means that you're not pushing yourself hard enough or moving fast enough towards your fullest potential. I could sit around all day on the sofa, watch TV, never take a risk in my life and never fail at anything. But people like you who want to make an impact on the world, who are high achievers, are going to fail. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's how do we respond to the failure and the suffering that happens. If anything comes out of this past year of suffering for many of us, is the resurgence of the Stoics. And you know me, Joe, we've talked about this before. I like reading things by Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, the Stoics, right? And I think a lot of people have realized, like, one of the messages from the Stoics is that life's meaning comes from struggle. If we don't struggle, this is why we are created imperfect. If we didn't know cold, we wouldn't enjoy the warmth. If we didn't understand ugly and pain, we wouldn't understand harmony and beauty, right? And so too many people, though, run from the struggle. They quit when the going gets tough, or if they think they're going to fail, they quit for some reason so that the failure is not public. But we have to embrace it. We have to create, I believe, we have to get thicker skins. We're all way too sensitive. Our feelings are getting hurt right now. And for those people who are going to be super high achievers in the entrepreneurial space, we better get thicker skins, right? And that's not just good for us. It's good for the country. It's good for the world, for sure.
So can we talk for a second about that chapter 9, I think it is? That really
victory? Yeah, it's called Freedom Road. Yeah, what would you want me to just kind of tell you what it's about?
Yeah, if you could.
So yeah, absolutely. If I were to write the book over again, this is the second edition of the book. and it gets a lot of praise. And this chapter called Freedom Road in the book there's a couple of passages in there. I've lost count of the number of times that it's been quoted by people that would know if you turn on the TV or the news. I did a little bit of research on the power of entrepreneurship and capitalism. And we got to remember, listen, I studied political science and capitalism when I was going to college, when I thought that I wanted to run for political office or work for the State Department or something like that. And I was just fascinated by it because I had traveled the world. I've been to not as much as many people, but I've been to about 45 different countries. Some of them are socialist and communist countries. I've served in some of these while I was in the military. And
you helped overthrow a few of them, right?
Well, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
So I've seen what I believe are the evils of socialism and communism. And it scared the hell out of me when I was doing the research for this book that Harvard did a study back in 2016, and they did a poll and found that only 42% of our young people between the ages of 18 and 29 had a positive view of capitalism. Only 42%.
Wow.
You can say, how the hell did that happen when we're living in a capitalist country, for crying out loud? And these people who aren't liking this capitalist country are walking around with their iPhones, for crying out loud, and going to McDonald's. Hello, you got that because you're in a capitalist society, right? But
listen, one thing, I'm sorry to interrupt you, one thing that my family did for me, they told me that I could do anything I want. Anything is possible.
Sure.
I could be president if I wanted to,
Yeah.
but that didn't pay enough. So I want to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Seriously, I was like,
I get it, dude. I get it. Now they make a healthier salary today than they did when you and I were younger, for sure. Yeah. And listen, you and I know the revenue that some of these businesses are making, and very, very few. I think it's only 8% of businesses ever break the $1 million mark.
Wow.
Right? And so these are really businesses that people are creating to support their families and their lifestyle.
Right.
Right.
So
and it is an absolute struggle. Yeah.
Can we just go back to what was that percentage?
40 of the Harvard poll. Yeah, in 2016, they did a poll and found that only 42% of Americans between the ages of 18 and 29 had a favorable view of capitalism. And to round this out, the National Bureau of Economic Review had found that since 1970, the number of people who are living at or below the global poverty level, which is $1 a day, right, has been cut by 80%. Why aren't we hearing more of this? And do you know why it's been cut by 80%? Because of entrepreneurship, because of capitalism, because of microloans through businesses like Kiva, right? Why don't we talk about that more?
Is it like people like Eldana that are helping?
Yeah, what Eldana is doing. So Kiva, I think it's kiva.com or kiva.org.
I love Kiva. I've been doing that for years.
Yeah, me too. So there's small little loans that you can do, $5, $50 to micro entrepreneurs who want to set up, let's say that they're in Asia or they're in an African country, and they're trying to set up a milk delivery service, right? And their repayment rate is something like 98% or something like that.
And
how often have you loaned $50 to a friend and never seen it again? Right.
Yeah. Well, you lend that and not expect it to come back. So.
Yeah, that's right. But truly, more people have been lifted out of poverty by entrepreneurship and capitalism than any other social program out there in the world. And I'm just so proud of you, Joe, for what you're doing to help these solopreneurs grow their businesses and these entrepreneurs with small businesses, because we're the ones who are making the real global impact on the world. All right. It is just absolutely the truth. And I just salute these warriors who are out there who are fighting and struggling every day to make an impact in their families' lives, in the lives of their communities. It's powerful stuff.
It is
congratulations to you.
Thank you. But I do feel like I'm at war sometimes. Yeah. I go to war with banks, with insurance companies, with the IRS, with with the state of California a lot now.
Right. So listen,
But
I spent about 9 years in the Green Berets, right? And I started coaching and mentoring people in entrepreneurship and leadership a couple of decades ago. And one of my very early masterminds that I did that was strictly for what we call now veterpreneurs, veterans who are going into the entrepreneur space. One of the participants was a guy named Larry Yatch, and you can Google his name, Yatch, and find out that he's the real deal. And so they're all veterans in this thing, and it was time to do hot seats. And before Larry came up to do his hot seat session, which is, for those who don't know, it's one of the things I'd started 100 years ago. That's now everybody's doing these hot seats. You come up and you discuss or share with the group your biggest challenge, opportunity, idea, and then we brainstorm it together, right? And so Larry was a retired Navy SEAL, and everybody there knew that he was a retired Navy SEAL. And he came up and sat down and said, hey, before I share with you the biggest challenge, opportunity, or idea that I've got, I want to share with you the scariest, most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. And everybody knew he was a Navy SEAL, and so they all lean in. Oh, this is going to be a really good story, right? And so he says, the scariest, most difficult thing I've ever done in my life, it's to start and run my own business. Larry Yatch was the one who planned and initiated the first, they went and secured the oil platforms in Iraq at the start of the Iraq War, okay? They then went on to decrete. When they gave their mission brief, pre-mission brief to the higher ups, they wanted to know, how many folks do you think you're going to lose? Or what's the damage going to be, is what they asked. And Larry, who is the team commander, said, we're going to lose 50% of the guys. 50% of the team is not going to make it back, is what he said, right? So 50% of his brothers there on the team who are going to be going in to secure the oil platforms were not likely to come back. These are brothers, these are sons, these are husbands, right? That's some scary shit, excuse my language, right? So they secured the oil platform and lost no one, okay? No casualties, no American casualties, right? So this guy knew some scary, difficult stuff. And you've heard me say this over and over again, and we're talking about being at war. You've got somebody like Larry Yatch who's saying, hey, this entrepreneurship game is more difficult than war, than battle. It's because it is. It is, because there's so many things we have no control over. When you've got a weapon in your hand, Joe, at least you generally know where the enemy is. But you can get blindsided by the government, the IRS, a competitor, a former employee who takes your book of business and goes to somebody else because they are a sellout, right? It is hard work. And at least your family knows what they signed up for generally in the military. Mm-hmm. Here, your family has no idea, right? And they can't relate. They just cannot relate to this entrepreneurial mindset that we have, that things are going to get better, that we believe that tomorrow is going to be better than today.
Yeah, so I get your chapter so much better now because if we have this change in attitude about entrepreneurship in this country, where is that leading us? I mean, that's scary to me.
Listen, there are times when I get scared to think about it, and there's other times where I have a high level of optimism. Yesterday, I was highly optimistic to think, and you've heard me talk about this before, Joe, but for your listeners who haven't heard it before, there's a saying that I heard the first time in special operations, in the special operations community, and that's this: tough times create tough men. Tough men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create tough times, right? And so you can swap out men for women, but I'm explaining it how I heard it for the first time. And so if we think back to our greatest generation, we think of those men and women who went off and fought World War II and then came back and rebuilt America and made it into the industrial powerhouse that it was for decades, right? What made them so great to have the courage and the willing to sacrifice to go off and fight a war, places where these young folks had never even heard of before, and then come back and rebuild it? It wasn't that the president called them to do it. You know what made them great? According to the Stoics, I'm the only one I've ever heard talk about this. We forget that these were Depression era kids. They were raised during the Depression. They knew what suffering was like, and to suffer another day, to serve someone else, not just ourselves, but to go because they loved our country so much. They loved their family so much. They loved our way of life so much. They were willing to sacrifice and serve so much. That's what made them the greatest generation. And if anything good comes out of what's happening right now, I do believe that more entrepreneurs are being born out of this by necessity, right? And that the young people like my son, who's about to turn 17, and my daughter, who's about to be 19, is experiencing what my father, who fought on Iwo Jima as a Marine in World War II and was a Depression era kid. They're going to be I believe they're our next greatest generation.
I like to believe that. I like to believe that too, Larry. And I think that I'm in the right place because my mission is to help these new businesses, because what you said, they don't realize the entrepreneur, what was it? The E-myth, whatever you want to call it. People coming into business, and how could they? There's no manual on it.
No, right? But this is why I wrote the Victory book, because there was no manual when I became an entrepreneur. One of the first books I was involved with was the first version of this book that then Syracuse University Press took most of that and turned it into an introduction for business that they use for thousands and thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs. But I believe that people like you and I have a moral obligation to speak the truth about entrepreneurship. We went through a couple of decades where we were so afraid to hurt someone's feelings that we weren't speaking the truth to people. And I saw in countless masterminds that people would have me come and be a trainer at or speak at their event, and they were just blowing smoke and telling people, yeah, you got the goods, when they may not have the goods. They may not have the idea. I've seen so many businesses that the coach or mentor kept spoon feeding them this syrupy, sweet kudos about this really bad business idea, to the point where some of these people literally have gone bankrupt since. And I think that is a sin. I think that people like you and I, who've got a little bit of gray hair and wrinkles and we've got some, scars from this thing, we have an obligation to tell people if we think that they've got a really crappy idea. It saves them time. It saves them money. It saves them heartache. Sometimes it saves their family. Because what's one of the biggest reasons why marriages break up? Finances, right? So I think we have an obligation to our fellow country people, our fellow entrepreneurs, right where they are around the world, to speak truth. And that's one of the things that I love about you, is that you speak the truth to your clients.
It's funny because I had a guy, and I covered this on my first day about what a business is. Yeah. I had a guy last week call me. He had inherited these Persian rugs. Okay. And he wanted to set up a business to sell them on one of the barter things. Yeah. So, when you inherit something, I was like, put it this way. I said, it's not a business. It's not, you're going to waste your money. You don't set up a bit. And I had to literally scare him and tell him, don't go into business. And what I did was I said, I could set you up. This is what it's going to cost you. I set you up with a corporation. You got to pay me to do bookkeeping. Yeah. He was delusional.
Just sell the damn thing.
But I have a moral obligation to. It would be easy for me to say, oh, yeah, I'll set you up with a corporation. And
well, here's the good thing, though. I think that if somebody has one idea for a business that is not their last business idea, that's what scares so many people. That when I tell people that, the likelihood, if you just look statistically speaking, your first couple of businesses or whatever, at some point you are going to fail. The good news is, if you know you're going to fail, you're more likely to prepare for it, right? That's what I'm talking about. We have to prepare for the inevitable failure that you're going to have. And so that's really critically important. But if you've had that idea and you actually take someone's advice, listen, let me back up. There's so much conflicting information out there, right? Like never, 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 never quit. We hear that all the time. Yeah. But there's a difference between quitting and saying enough is enough. Quitting is like when it gets hard, I don't want to do it anymore. Or I get my first no. Oh, I'm going to quit. That's quitting.
Right.
But if you exhausted every opportunity, every angle, you got people who are bolder, brighter, wiser than you are on your team, and they are all telling you this is probably a bad idea, then listen up. Okay. But really the final, even if I'm wrong, the decision is yours. You have to be the one who takes the responsibility for that and not ultimately blame someone else. Right.
Yeah.
Because I've had people tell me, no, it's never going to work for you. I've got that too. Right. But you have to separate out who's telling you this in love and who's telling you this because they have themselves a poverty mindset. Right. And so there does take some discernment. And that's one of the things that I pray about all the time is, give me discernment to see the difference between right and wrong. Right. And to be able to see the challenges that folks are having out there. So it is like a battle for sure. I do have hope that there will be more entrepreneurs. What scares me, Joe, back to your question, is that I think that the environment is getting more difficult for entrepreneurs. I don't think that's getting any easier.
It is.
In fact, it may be getting harder, which means you better toughen up, Buttercup.
And Larry, I just want to say, Elizabeth has been typing here, and Elizabeth, if you can give like the link for Larry's book, because I think every entrepreneur should read it.
Thank you.
I know that you're kind of busy. You have another thing coming up.
Yeah.
So that's great. But I want to close this out.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to do the rest of my stealth tax strategies because I just want to say, thank you, Larry, for being a mentor, a coach, you're Larry Broughton. That's all I have to say. So just keep being Larry. And
thanks,
what you're talking about, the environment for a new business owner, I've been talking about this for years, but I never had this kind of platform.
Yeah.
And it's really scary. It is freaking scary, Larry, because not only is the government breaking down, I mean, I'm getting like every other day another client where the government is taking money out of their accounts and I'm like, this is going to get worse.
Yeah.
So there's that thing. There's that. The other thing, Larry, is there is a serious shortage of qualified tax people out there.
Yeah.
It's scary. I had Debbie Morgan on here the other day.
Yeah.
There's only so many people that I can take on, and Debbie can take on. But, and I think the answer is you got to go in prepared. You got to go in with your eyes open. It's okay to be delusional. I think we all are. Thomas Edison was.
Yeah, for sure.
Who tries something 10,000 times and fails,
right,
and keeps trying.
Right.
So, you got to have that entrepreneur spirit, but it's impossible to run a business today, but I don't care how small it is.
Well, listen, one of the things that Thomas Edison had that people tend to forget is he had a lot of people around him that were working with him. He did not create the light bulb by himself. He had a whole team of people, right? And this is the thing, I think, I've said this so many times, this is another thing that people get mad at me about, but I'm just telling you, if you can't afford to have a good accounting person and good tax person on your team as an entrepreneur, you can't afford to be in business. Okay?
Yeah.
You just can't. And that includes mentors as well. This is why I like this program that you've got now for accounting people, because you make it's almost like you've democratized.
Listen, I saw the problem and I said, how can I lower the price because if it's just price, because people think, accountants and we're expensive.
Yes.
But I figured out a way with technology, with my team to streamline everything. And we could start somebody at like $47 a month.
Crazy. Yeah.
It is crazy. And I'm like,
crazy good. It's awesome.
And we make money.
Yeah.
I'm in business.
Yeah.
As long as the system runs, we're good. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to your business, the growth that I'm seeing in your business. And I'm just so tickled, I guess, of the following that you're building, because I think you're resonating with people, and people trust you. And I think as entrepreneurs, we tend to be a little too trusting with the snake oil salespeople that are out there. And I think you're one of the good guys. So God bless you. I'm glad.
Thank you. No, God bless you. And if people have been listening, and if you don't know Larry Broughton, you own and operate a couple of hotels, right?
Well, I've got a hotel management company. Yeah, we've got about 9 hotels in the portfolio today.
That's not a good business to be in right now. You have hundreds of employees, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hundreds of employees. In fact, one day I reached out to you for some help for something, and you called me.
Yeah.
And I was surprised, and you told me, "Oh, I'm on my way to." I think you had to lay off like 100 people.
Yeah, this is right when the pandemic had started. Yeah.
But I'm like, oh my God, you're doing, and you took the time to call me. I mean, I was like, okay,
dude,
that's how I wanted.
You needed help, and when somebody needs help, we gotta reach out. We gotta help.
No, you're the sheepdog. I know that.
Exactly.
But even now, you're facing, I can't even imagine what, and I know that you're going to come out like bigger and better. Yeah. But absolutely. For you to take time out like this and share this with us, I really appreciate it.
You're one of the good guys. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it.
All right. All right. I think that's how about some parting words for new business owners, small business owners? What could you tell them?
This is one of my mantras, or the things I remind myself every day. I have to remind myself of this every day. Did you catch that? I have to remind myself. And that's why I want other people to be reminded of it as well. If you want to live a life of success and impact, for God's sake, stop chasing success. If you're chasing success for success sake, to show off, to do your Instagram pictures of your fancy car, to prove something to mom and dad or brother or somebody who pushed you down in the playground, life is going to be very empty and very hollow. Instead, what I want you to do is to seek a life of significance. Play a significant role in the life of your family members, a significant role in your community, a significant role in business, a significant role in your place of worship, if that's your bag. Success is the byproduct of living a life of significance. Okay. So go do something significant today.
Love it. Thank you, Larry.
My buddy.
That's our story, over and out. I'm sticking with it. Can't say enough. Thank you. God bless. I will be back again with a special episode of my stealth tax strategies. Okay, this was much more interesting. So thank you, everyone. Good night.